South Sudan seceded from Sudan following decades of conflict and a referendum for independence in 2011. But the hard-won celebration was short-lived. In December 2013, political infighting erupted into violence in the streets of the capital Juba after South Sudan's President Salva Kiir Mayardit accused his Vice President Riek Machar of plotting an attempted coup. Violence spread across the young nation like wildfire, displacing civilians. Hundreds of thousands of South Sudanese sought refuge from the violence in UN bases and neighboring countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, and Uganda. East Africa leaders helped mediate a ceasefire and peace agreement that was signed in August 2015, but the establishment of a transitional government has been slow and fighting has continued. Apart from the political instability, the fragile nation has also faced another serious challenge as nearly 4 million South Sudanese face severe food insecurity and more than 2 million are displaced by the war. International human rights groups have documented widespread human rights abuses and reported evidence that they are committed by both the government and opposition forces. Three years down the road since conflict started in the newly merged country of the world, with no sign of improvement in the peace condition, its leaders claim that they regret all what happened to their nation, which was in the formation.
The first 3 years that we have passed through as South Sudanese is almost bad years to the nation. We have split inside, and the people of South Sudan experience the bloodshed among themselves. So I regret for that, because there is no good reason for South Sudanese to shed the blood after they have achieved their liberty as South Sudanese.
We had been fighting for a long time to be prosperous and to bring peace and tranquility to every citizen. But you know what happened in 2013 was a group of greedy politicians. And these greedy politicians are not only in South Sudan, they are everywhere in Africa particularly. They don't want things to go the way that even the constitutions of our countries say, but there are people who will always go against the constitution. 2015 was a year of our elections for the first time. But those who felt that if these elections were to take place, they knew that they would not even win the elections. So they have to spoil it, so that if there's any chance of negotiations, they would be brought to power through negotiations. That was the aim that they had. And it happened.
South Sudan has been heavily affected by this war. And we were emerging as a young country. We did not have institutions of governance. We created them in 2005. And these institutions were so weak, they were not yet strong. And then all of a sudden, fighting started. It just swept everything away. And it easily forced people to move to their tribal bases. Even the parties were abandoned. People just went to their tribes. The destruction that has taken place, the houses, the buildings that were constructed between 2005 and 2013, all of them razed down to the ground. The people killed randomly. The kind of the situation which this war has created for South Sudan will take us at least 10 years to get to where we were in 2013. There were some incidents leading to July 8th incident. There were some clashes among the forces of Riek Machar and the SPLA in town here on the 5th of July. And then prior to that, there were some incidents in which some individuals were killed. So there was some mistrust among the forces themselves, which goes back to the main reason when that agreement was signed. I think we were saying that it is not a good idea to have two armies in one city. And people were saying that it was possible, so it was pushed on us. And what happens was when the two forces came here, they were very suspicious of each other. And that is what triggered the July 8th crisis. Riek Machar left, there was a vacuum of leadership in the IO within government here. And the leadership of IO that remained here, Taban was the most senior. And so they sat down and they say, Taban, now you can replace Riek, because how are we going to implement the agreement without the leader? So you will now be our leader. And that is what happened. He never came out and said that I want to become the leader of the IO, but the IO group sat and they elected him, and they took the recommendation to the president and said, we want Taban to be appointed as the first vice president. And the president cannot say no, because this is the agreement. He has to agree to it. He can't say no.
And the new first vice president was appointed, General Taban. Taban, then guy, is working very closely with our president, and they have taken a leap in implementing the peace. They have resolved many issues that Riek was not able to resolve.
When certain things happen which are unintended, things which are wrongly done, the leader must always take the ownership of those mistakes and apologize on behalf of the country, on behalf of the people.
So as we talk of peace now, you see the president launched a national dialogue. This national dialogue is very important. And if anybody in South Sudan has got his or her own grievances, in the way they see that maybe they are not happy with the government, this is a chance for them now to come forward with their position papers and say, the people of South Sudan, I was not happy because of ABCD. And now that the president has declared a national dialogue, let us now dialogue on these points that I have or she has or whoever has.
First of all, this is not the first time South Sudanese have made a dialogue between themselves. The first one is 1994, when there was what is known as the Wunjilith agreement. But that's people-to-people dialogue. And then there was the current agreement in 2004, just before the finalization, 2005 actually, after the finalization of the agreement. This one is so important for us, because when politicians differ, this time there is no enemy. We are differing among ourselves. We are either competing over power or over resources. Now you cannot destroy a country, your own country. You cannot make your people suffer from your own personal desire. And you cannot embarrass your country and let down countries, other friends who have always been there to help you to become independent. So we want to go and talk to ourselves. We want to go and say the truth about ourselves, even shame each other for what others have done, so that we all come to our sense.
Now we need to accept each other, that the opinion of different people, we need also to accept each other on the way how we also coming together, governing each other. We are also learning from our brothers, also telling us, like Ethiopians, like Ugandans, like other countries, are also telling us, guys, you have come through a long way. You need to live together. So we have understood that one, and we are now living together, and we will start talking to each other.
So I have confidence that the way the dialogue is structured is first to address the various community issues at the various areas of South Sudan, because they're not the same. So you may find problems in Upper Nile different from Barghazal, different from Equatoria. But then there are common issues also, the political issues, security issues. Those ones will be discussed at the national level. And I believe that the people of South Sudan are sensible. They have probably enormous experience, more than any other in Africa.
We say the dialogue is inclusive of every South Sudanese, whether it is a political party, whether it is an organization, whether it is a community-based problems, whether it is whatever situation that every South Sudanese wanted it to be addressed. This is an opportunity for this issue now to be addressed. But we cannot go to dialogue while carrying our guns. It will not be called a dialogue anymore. A dialogue means sitting down as a people and we talk among ourselves as a South Sudanese, as a citizens, or as a political parties, by presenting our political position in paper, that we are not happy with the government because of A, B, C, D, and we want the government to do E, F, G, H. And that is where the dialogue comes in. The government say, okay, I will do this and I will do this. And then you also do this, because dialogue means give and take. I give you what you ask from me, and then I take from you what you wanted from me, and then you also take from me. That is the meaning of dialogue.
The problem did not start in the States. It did not start in the grassroots. It started here. So if it is started here at the leadership position, it is first the leadership that must reconcile. And once the leadership has reconciled, they will now have to go to the grassroots and say that we have reconciled. And the former enemies now who become friends will have to go from community to community and tell them that, look at us, we have united, you also want, we want you to unite. And that message will be well received, and it will be quickly received. But if you leave the political leadership that has created the crisis in the first place, and you want to go to a place where it did not start, it will take you a long time to solve the problem. But all in all, regardless of where you started, national dialogue will bring peace and stability in South Sudan. Always a matter of it's a matter of persuasion. You always have to, and this is where we need our neighboring states, our neighboring countries to play a very important role. That because it's sometimes difficult when it is your adversary that is trying to convince you to have peace with them, but when it is someone that is neutral, then it can help. So we think that if our neighboring countries can play a role of persuading those who are still fighting to stop fighting and ask them what it is that they want, then if we can address those issues, then peace can come in the country. Because the peace was never signed on personalities. It was not signed between Salva Kiir and Riek Machar, and that if there is no Salva Kiir, there is no peace. If there is no Riek Machar, there is no peace. This is not how it is. It's a peace that is signed between two parties. So whoever is there can always carry on with the peace implementation. It shouldn't matter who it is.
And we will continue with the dialogue, and those who will go against the national dialogue, we call upon the region to identify them. And even if they can be classified as a terrorist or negative force, and people who are anti-peace.
IGAD and the neighboring countries to Southern Sudan are the people connected directly with the issue of Southern Sudan. First of all, they have a knowledge about Southern Sudan because they are neighbors. They are a part of peace or war. If war erupted in any one of them, all of us will feel it. The IGAD will feel it because they are direct neighbors to South Sudan. So I believe the IGAD are the solution maker of their own, because they are connected with their background, they are connected with their relations, they are connected with their peace, and they are connected with their problems. So I believe IGAD are the best to get a solution, not for the South Sudan, for the whole problem of the region.
I believe by the end of 2017 there will be no fighting. As I speak to you now, there are only very few areas, and these are areas where there was no war. In Upper Nile, which is close to Ethiopia there, very minor areas, very small proportion. Even here in Equatoria, it has stopped, you know. So people are going to ask questions as to how long are we going to stay in the bush? And what are we fighting for? To liberate South Sudan or to our authority government? You know? So by time, in the next couple of months, I believe something is going to happen.
We have gone through difficulties from the first war, the second war, and then during the liberation, and finally after the independence. As also through the independence, we also went through the difficulties, including 2013. We have a feeling that always when our things are bad, God also comes with help to us. So that is also the concept of many people here, and that is why finally we have this peace, the relative peace that we are in, and we still hope that our things are going to be okay.
There were people in this country, if you say the word peace, they will leave the room. But now they are talking about peace. So it's all in the hearts of people that the people of South Sudan have now embraced the concept of peace. And we think that it is possible, it is doable to do it, and by next year in 2018, hopefully peace will have returned in the country and we can even conduct free and fair elections.
We are giving a strong hope to people of South Sudan, because we are the liberators. We are the ones who have liberated this country. We did not liberate it for chaos. We have liberated it so that we enjoy the peace. Therefore, the peace is the wealth. The peace is the wealth. The peace is the love. The peace can make any one of us to look for what he wants and to keep what he has. So the peace is the hope. The peace itself is the hope to our people. Our people must have peace so that they enjoy their love, they enjoy their beauty country.
If giving all positions to the opposition can bring peace to South Sudan, I would convince all my colleagues to give them away, if that's what will bring peace. So I feel good that if our country can be peaceful by implementing the agreement, we will all work for that.
Now that government people seem to be committed to restore peace and stability to South Sudan and mobilize citizens to rebuild their country. Given that the country has to deal with the famine it has been facing since February, the effort to get back to normal status seems a far-tourist dream. But who knows? The national dialogue, along with efforts being made by the international community, would bring a light at the end of the tunnel.